Welcome to the podcast, She is Fab, where we discuss all things fab, women empowerment, and life coaching. My name is Evelyn, also known as the Fab Chieftess, and I am a mindset transformation coach. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the She is Fab podcast. My name is Evelyn, your host, mindset transformation coach, and today I want to welcome back Marina Hutton. She is a certified hypnotist who's going to educate us today all about that topic. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah,
Go ahead and remind our viewers who you are.
Yeah. So again, as Evelyn was saying, I'm a hypnotist, and a lot of my interest in terms of hypnosis and this whole realm comes, I know last time we were talking about self-inquiry, is really working with those different parts of us, our inner landscape, to one, kind of connect to life in a more full way and experience that awe, and also to make really deep shifts within ourselves, as I think I believe we all have the resources to do it. It's already there. We just got to tap into it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to learn more and hear, how you transitioned into this, because I myself am not knowledgeable in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it kind of started the transition, because you might know that as before, when we were talking about self-inquiry, I was doing more like meditation and yoga. And over the past while, when I was doing that, I started kind of intuiting and blending other stuff into meditation and yoga. And a friend of mine did some hypnosis for me one day, and I just fell in love. I was like, this is the practice that I have been looking for in terms of like the words and the way that it works. And so I've been doing that certification, and now I'm doing hypnosis, and I love it in that way that it's, and how it distinguishes from meditation and this world. It's kind of like the inner workings of it, which I'll pause because I know I don't want to go too far into it ahead of myself.
No, that's awesome. So you had a friend who introduced you to it. You had this aha moment, and so you transitioned. I mean, it's still related to what you did before, but you transitioned in a way. Tell us how it's different from meditation.
Yeah, so how it's different from meditation, the way that I like to describe it is that meditation often is this practice where we are training our mind in a way to bring our attention to a specific focal point. So as the mind wanders through various different methods, we redirect our attention back to the focal point and come to realize that, we aren't our thoughts and the stuff that's automatically happening. So it's more that focal point. Now, hypnosis is more about, it's kind of like a surrender, if you can think of that experience. In meditation, I'm over here, my thoughts here, bring it back. Thoughts here, bring it back. Hypnosis, it feels like rather than an active attention of focusing on something, it's like an act of releasing. So you can kind of think of it, if you've done meditation before, where you get to maybe that sweet spot where you're just like, I don't even know if I'm focusing on anything more. I just feel so relaxed and grounded. And that's kind of what it is. And so in hypnosis, we're utilizing that state of that deep relaxation trance to make shifts and changes on a level. So that's the other distinction, that we're actually it's actively using it for something as well through various techniques.
So what are some of the benefits that you found or that folks have expressed to you with this practice?
Some of them, the major one I would say is the speed at which people make shifts. I continue to be just absolutely blown away by it. People can get rid of fears. Had someone reduce their headache from an 8 to a 3 in 7 minutes. Have a person reduce fear of water in a session. Literally making major changes to in career and stuff. So it's really just that, as opposed to, thinking we need to do a bunch of longer things to make shifts, sometimes we actually can just go in and change it. And then we come out of hypnosis and something is just shifted. It's just there.
So I'm curious, have you encountered any sort of resistance when it comes to that practice, or individuals who may not be comfortable, because when you think of hypnosis, there's that surrender, as you said. And so maybe folks have a fear that what you're putting forth could negatively impact or maybe put in some sort of thoughts that weren't originally there.
Yes. Yes. And I'll actually answer that too with that. One of the main things why I think there is that fear around it is there are a lot of different, like especially different media, movies, and when people think of hypnosis, they often think of stage hypnosis. And, you know, people collecting like chickens and that sort of thing. So one, stage hypnosis and more like the therapeutic points and change work are quite different in terms of the outcome. And the other thing is that you can't actually make someone do something they don't inherently want to do. So even in stage hypnosis, if someone is up there quacking like a chicken, if it's something that it would actually kind of be in their character to do. And then the other thing,
oh wow,
yeah. And then when you're thinking of like the trust on that hand, I'd say that trust is one of the most powerful things as part of the hypnosis process. So if one is with someone and they don't trust that they're going to plant, you know, something that they don't like, it's likely not going to be actually a very good fit for hypnosis. And one isn't actually going to, their unconscious mind isn't actually going to let in that information. So even if I gave a suggestion, if it
that
doesn't
makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay, so then walk us through the process. How does it work? I'm trying to wrap my head around, how do you even start? What do you have to prepare for it? Like, what do you walk through?
Yeah, that's like, I love all these questions. So I'm like, you're just hitting kind of like all the questions that people regularly ask. And I myself asked. And so what it looks like often is, one, you'd be getting clear on, it's very future states. You'd be like, okay, well, what do you actually want through hypnosis? So it's very much, yes, we might want to clear something that's in the way, like trauma, but really, what do we want to put in there? What do we want to program? I'll speak to the experience and then can speak even to a bit of how it works afterwards. But the experience is often that, like, you know, you're sitting in the chair, your eyes are closed, and some people have like this experience of, you know, maybe they're seeing colors, maybe visuals, maybe they feel like a little energy, maybe some people feel warmth, or maybe some people just are listening to the sound of my voice. So there's many different states of hypnosis. And when you're being guided through it, it's like a mix of one, like different things to make you feel more relaxed. It's drawing on the senses. So I might be like getting you to bring, for example, awareness to a specific sensation or maybe a color. And it's really direct. It's all that it's doing is directing one more within and into their inner landscape and using like different language and stuff that actually works with your mind in a way that keeps actually your conscious mind distracted. So really in hypnosis, we're working to relax and kind of distract so that the conscious mind has something to do. That part of you that, you know, focuses on a few things at a time to get you to this kind of deep, relaxed state of hypnosis and trance, which means different things for different people in terms of how they experience it. So it's really this experience of you're sitting in a chair and maybe you're like having these different sensations come up and it's like a dance between the hypnotist where they're bringing in, you know, different techniques and directing your focus in specific ways to help lead you to that specific outcome through visualizations or through, and of course, direct suggestion. Mm-hmm. Is there anything I missed when I was saying that caught you? Or yes?
No, I mean, you said a lot there in regards to the experience, and it would make sense that it would be different for the individual, right? Different strokes, different folks will go through that differently. So I'm assuming, and again, you can correct me because I don't know much, that there is a sort of process or prep that has to be done prior to actually conducting the hypnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So prior to it is really more about like the asking questions and getting clear on what that is that person wants as an outcome out of it, and getting a better sense of the change itself. And often actually things already happen in that state. And sometimes I might be using, like, and other hypnotists will use neurolinguistic programming even beforehand and other techniques to clear stuff that might be in the way before you actually go into the hypnosis. And so another aspect of that is that whatever we want to change, we want to actually activate that part of the brain, like those neural pathways before we go in. So that's like, okay, communicating the brain, that's what we're actually shifting. So that's one of the main things. And then of course, building that, like that state where someone can feel comfortable. Interesting.
Yeah. So then in your experience, because you did transition, but it wasn't like a completely 180, totally different niche. They're still related and still the techniques are viable. Do you find that you're still using the meditation? And are there other techniques that you're incorporating with the hypnosis?
Yeah, so I think meditation can actually help people even to experience maybe hypnosis, because it's training the brain in a way to also just kind of surrender. One of the things that I guess I do blend in from that would more come from even like, different yogic philosophy in terms of, okay, what are those different ways that we describe this inner landscape that we can't necessarily touch, yet it's there. And I find the meditation practice and the yoga in a way has helped me to kind of just get a better sense of what is going on when someone's sitting quiet. Yeah. And to kind of intuit what might be there. And actually, as a hypnotist...
So in terms of... Yeah.
And I'd actually say as a hypnotist...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead and
no worries. I think also that it's so important when you're doing hypnosis to be actually looking at what's going on with the person, so meditation can help, because it's actually creating a clearing where I'm not focusing on whatever thoughts are in my head. It's like I'm right here with the person. So I guess that could be part of that, what's incorporated.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that there has been a challenge at any point, or maybe when you started this transition with getting out of your own head in order to help your clients with hypnosis?
Absolutely. And I think much of what I experienced, many people who are listening to this could resonate. It's the same things around even like imposter syndrome or confidence. Am I to do this? Am I doing it right? Aiming for perfection. And so ultimately I used hypnosis to help clear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether you're a coach or a therapist or counselor, whatever area you're in where you're providing a service, even with your expertise, even with your certifications, we're human, so we experience those emotions. On that leg, I do want to ask, because you were known in one area, was it difficult to transition to this field? Were some of your maybe existing clients wondering about the change, or have clients or prospective clients asked you questions regarding the tangibles? And what I mean by tangibles is that when it comes to like our niches, right, mindset, internal reflection, things of that nature, we can't say, oh, fix this and you're going to earn $10,000 a month, right? It's more intangible, but what it produces later on can be tangible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's actually interesting. I find that it's actually grown interest. And it's drawing actually more curiosity than even what I was doing before. And maybe part of that is because it is more specific, that it's like people can see things really quickly. And also it's just kind of intriguing, I guess. People are like, oh, I hear about this thing that's hypnosis. Let's see what that's about.
No, that's really great. And I think part of that too, and this is just me throwing assumptions out there, I feel that because of COVID and how we have had to shift in our lives, there is more emphasis and more focus on mental health, on working on the internal, on having those mindset shifts. And so it does push people, or has pushed people more so, in my opinion, to explore self-development and betterment through any means necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, even the kind of things that people are bringing forth, I don't think they would have a couple of years ago. No. You're noticing that too, quite a big shift as well?
Yes, I am, especially, on social media. Once you start looking at one thing, it kind of opens the door to these other things that are related. And so especially you and I in our fields, we see a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So interesting.
So let me ask you too, this is really on the business side of things. Have you had to sort of recreate or rebrand yourself extensively because of this transition?
Yeah, I've shifted the name of my business. I've shifted my whole website. I've shifted the language and the focus around it. So in a way, like, it feels like I've shifted a lot on the outside, yet internally it just feels like a really smooth and natural progression, and actually feels more aligned. So this other stuff around it, I find building I feel so aligned with, and I'm just so blown away by the things that I see with it, that the rest of the branding and things that would actually be more difficult for me before, in terms of like indecision and double, questioning and stuff like that. It's easier. It's way more effortless and easy.
I love that. That's amazing, because you're right. When you're in alignment, things come much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, being that you had to rebrand somewhat and you had this transition, I'm assuming your offerings too have changed. Do you want to tell the audience about how you work and what offerings you have out there regarding your new niche?
Yeah, so now, and actually, as you say this, I'm like, yeah, I kind of I do integrate more of what I used to do. So, and now I do hypnosis sessions. I do them custom. So it's like people come to me saying, I want to make X shift, or I've hit a wall and I just don't know what's there. And I just know that there's something on the other side. And then I develop custom sessions around that, because a lot of hypnosis is that I'm just meeting people where they are, getting a sense of what that landscape is for them, and then how to shift it. So yeah, now I do custom sessions, but where I see like where it could blend in more of that like meditation and yoga stuff is kind of scanning, different blocks that even might be in the body in terms of the breath or how one's focusing their attention and those sort of things. And also expand it out to doing more of the recorded stuff as well.
So that brings me to another question. Is group hypnosis a thing? Do you do that, or would you consider doing that?
I would. I think it would be super, super interesting. I've started to do more of the recordings of it. Yeah. So the short answer is I'm not doing it yet. And I think it would be really cool to design something around that. I'd love to see what happens.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So you said you have these recordings as well as the customized, individualized attention. When you say recordings, what do you mean? Is it just like a video recording of you walking through hypnosis, or is it like audio recording? Video and audio. Yeah, video and audio. So like right now, someone will be coming up on Spotify that are audio. It'll have some that are video. Not that people will be looking at me anyways. If they want to, I'll be there. Right, because part of it is having your eyes closed.
Yeah, exactly. You can keep your eyes open if you want, I guess, but...
I mean, there are folks who have that where they sleep with their eyes open, so maybe they could do hypnosis with their eyes open.
Yeah, I've actually heard that you can. Yeah, same as meditation. The brain's powerful. I'd actually be really curious to explore that. Yeah.
So I really want you to, you've answered so many of my questions regarding, hypnosis and it kind of helped me understand the subject matter. But in your experience, what about hypnosis do you want the audience to know that I may not have already asked you?
Oh, that's a good question. There's one thing that I think is really interesting because I've mentioned, the same, the conscious and unconscious and change. And so I think it would be really helpful to set some context as to what I mean in terms of how is it actually working? And when we say we're making changes at the unconscious level, what does that mean? So there's one way of describing it. So you can kind of like imagine that our conscious mind is, say, like this grape. And this grape means that, as I'm sitting here, I'm focusing on a few things at a time. In hypnosis, we say, the mind focuses on about 5 to 9 things at a time. And that's my focus, my open awareness. Now, in between that, then there's stuff happening on that unconscious level all the time. So you can think of that as like this big basketball or something even bigger than that. And I'm pulling from an analogy that I've heard before, and I just love it. And that's your unconscious mind. And that's everything that's happening automatically without thinking about it. Breathing automatically, heart's beating automatically. We have memories that we can access. I don't have to think about them all the time, and it's there. And so in hypnosis, what we're doing is we're working to distract and work with the conscious mind, bring that conscious attention. And then what's happening is the one kind of gets into that more trance state, that filter that exists between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Again, this is just a framework. So to help understand that this barrier between them kind of gets a little bit thinner and allows information to flow through and shift. And so in hypnosis, that's where we go in and through language and imagery and different things, shift things more at that unconscious level. And then kind of like you're wrapping a bow on it, coming back up to the surface, and the change is there. And why it works is because similar to meditation, you might notice when more you meditate, like the easier it is, the more we do this or anything else. So similarly, when we go in hypnosis, we're rewiring also the main thing is those automatic responses at that unconscious level. How do we automatically respond? Like I'm in a conversation with someone and I'm not comfortable or something like that. I have an automatic response. In hypnosis, we're going and we're changing that automatic response so that in day-to-day life, while you're in that conscious awareness, those unconscious responses that are happening and are wired there start to be different.
That is so interesting because as you're talking about the subconscious mind, things like breathing, your heart beating, etc., there are other things in terms of how you engage, how you behave, how you process, how you speak, that is part of that subconscious mind. And so you can also think of these as habits, right? We develop these habits, parts of our persona as we grow and evolve. And so when people are trying to make change, whether it's mindset shifts, habits, self-care, what have you, based on what you're saying and, my interpretation, making that relation, it's that subconscious mind.
Yes. Yeah. It's a like you say, it's a habit. Like a lot of what we do is habit. It's way easier. It's a way easier way to live than to constantly have to think of every single thing we do.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these habits we've developed over years of performing the same action, right? So it's a little more difficult to break out of it, which is why some folks will seek help from individuals like yourself or like me. Trying to change those rituals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So your audience, the folks that you work with, I'm curious, is it primarily women or primarily men who come to you for hypnosis? Or is it a balance?
It's a balance. Yeah, it's a balance.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I always hear that women are more into, self-development and making changes and shifts. And so I'm always, ask my fellow coaches, therapists, counselors, like, hey, what are you seeing in your field, in your area of expertise?
Yeah, I see a lot of men are interested. A lot in this field.
Is there more resistance? Because I feel like when it comes to men, in my experience at least, they can be more grounded or set in their subconscious or in their habits, and so it can be more difficult to get them to open up to the experience or what you're trying to help them, even if they come to you for help.
Yeah, and even that, I guess it's been depending on the personality. So what I find is if there's like some resistance, it's not as much about whether it's about the gender. It's more in terms of the person, and if that's in the way, and it's like trying to get them, then I guess that's another issue. But I find men to be quite receptive, and I don't know if it's also like comes down to just the resonance too. I find a lot in my practice, I attract a lot of men. So I don't know if there's something in the way, and maybe other practitioners, vice versa.
That's pretty interesting.
I find they're super interested.
Perspective there.
Yeah, like some even I find that I've assumed, and I've seen this a lot in meditation if I go and I'm thinking, oh, they might not be receptive, and they just blow me away, and they actually are. And so one of the things that I've adopted in any practice that I do is, similar to a meditation, when I'm going to work with someone, I'm thinking, okay, if there's any kind of automatic assumptions that are coming up, I practice like kind of moving them out and dropping them, so that I'm kind of seeing that person in that moment for what they are. And I find that in its way, it starts shifting the dynamic. Even if there was some kind of difference in communication, the minute I kind of shift that point I'm responding from, it just shifts the whole dynamic.
I love what you said there, because that is a very important point. We all have our own predispositions, assumptions that we make, because we're human. But when you're engaging with another individual, providing professional service, especially as it relates to the internal care, you can't go in those assumptions or those predispositions. You have to, like you said, see them for what they are, who they are in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even a good example, we used to run a big meditation community in the workplace, and one of them was predominantly people in IT and predominantly men. And it was different from, I think, like what someone might anticipate going into an organization, maybe seeing people from HR and communications and stuff like that. And nope.
No, that is, I would assume too, going in, it'll be folks that are centered around the people aspect, right? Like I said, HR, maybe even marketing, sort of more service-based. When you think of IT, you think about the technology, the systems that are put in place. But then depending on who they are in IT, if say it's help desk, they do interact with people on a regular basis. So it really varies.
Yeah, and often like very curious, extremely intelligent, right? And so, of course, if it's like these things like hypnosis or meditation mindset are good, and they find like a language that resonates, it's like super interested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So something else that came to mind as you were speaking regarding hypnosis, and again, because I'm not as educated, I don't know if this is the case. When it comes to hypnosis and your practice, are there certain topics or areas of hypnosis that you find you do better with, or that you prefer to work with your clients on, or is it kind of like an open board for anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really like working with people that are making like some kind of like big shift in their life, or they want to make a jump into something new. And maybe they're actually doing a lot of the right things. Like they're motivated, they're driven, they do all these different things, and yet they feel like they just keep hitting a wall. And they're like, what is this? So that would be one. And then the other time when someone's like, something's just often I just feel like it needs to kind of clear out of the way. So I love also like working in that puzzle and that kind of like esoteric way as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So either major shifts, transitioning, or resolving blockages.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I'm getting from your description there.
Yeah. So it could even be like in more.
Go ahead.
It could even be like a clear way to sum it up might be even like career changes or questioning purpose.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a lot more focused.
Yeah.
Because when you say transition, it can be anything, right? It can be career, it can be love, it can be family.
Oh, yeah. You're so right. Yeah, see, I'm so anchored in a certain way because of my own life and what that means and in my own transition. So it's so interesting when you're like seeing, oh, yeah, but there are all these other ones.
And something else that I started wondering about. So as a coach for me, and I'm sure other coaches do this too, right? We have our consultation, the initial consultation, where you learn about the individual and you educate on what you can offer. And usually that is followed after somebody submits an intake form, right? Where they kind of populate information on what they're looking for, how they connected with you. And you ask them questions that would help you determine whether they would be a good fit for your service. Is that something that you do as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I always have like the intake questions in the beginning, and I find it really helpful. Mm-hmm. And usually even when people go on those calls, it's usually they're already interested, like you're saying. Mm-hmm. And that it starts the change happening
so
then.
So then that goes to say that you, in your practice, because you have that form or the intake first touch, you probably can tell if somebody would benefit from the practice of hypnosis. Have you had to turn anyone away?
I had to turn anyone away. Not yet. Not yet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Batting 100.
Not yet, though. I know that people do have to do that. Which is good on both accounts, right? It's like if you can't serve, if you're not feeling the right person to serve someone, I have said to people though, if there's specific things where they've said, I want to do this, I'll say, for this part, you actually might want to look at working with this person. So it's more of that sort of a thing so far.
Oh, love that you're putting that out there because sometimes folks forget that you may not be a good fit. As a coach, it may not be about the client and what they're seeking. Maybe what you're offering or how you work might not help them with whatever situation they need help with. So it's important to be able to make those recommendations. Or if they need something more involved, like a therapist or a counselor, then you obviously refer them that way.
Absolutely.
So, even though you've transitioned, and it's a very interesting topic, by the way, if you guys aren't already of the same mindset, but I'm glad to see that there are a lot of things that are still the same in terms of the process, how you connect with your clients and what you're working through. It is all about that internal shift. Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of other people who are kind of in this sphere and running businesses, it's just this, I don't know, a snowball comes to my mind that you're like, just keep rolling in the snow. Mm-hmm. And it's like, often like we might think that we're fully recreating ourselves, yet often it's just that we're just like pushing the snow because we got more people, we have more things to add to it, other lenses, right when we think we've got it.
We're creatures of heaven.
Yeah.
We repeat patterns that we're used to. And it takes, quite a tremendous force or deep-seated motivation to make those shifts and changes. And
that decision. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the direction that, you're going in. Like I mentioned before, Marina has been on the podcast when she was working with her previous niche for meditation, yoga, things of that nature. And so this transition, honestly, I think it suits you. I can feel the passion that comes forth as you speak about it and that alignment that you mentioned.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it feels, it fits.
So before I let you go, I want to give you the chance to share anything that you want to share with the audience.
Oh, awesome. Well, if anyone's, whoever's listening to this, if you have questions about anything I've said, I know I've talked about a bunch of different things, just feel free to send them my way. And if this resonates with you and you're curious about hypnosis and whether it applies to something, you can always go to any of my social media or website at Hutton, Hutton, hypnosis.com, and I have a free call there. As you were mentioning, you can just sign up and see what there is to see, and if there's a fit, and if you want to learn more. Other than that, happy to answer questions.
Thank you for that. And we're going to put all the details of how to connect with her in the podcast and YouTube details. So if you can either listen to this, if you're listening, or watch it on YouTube, either way, we're going to put her details out there. And like she said, if anything resonates with you, if you have any questions or curiosity, make sure you connect with her, touch base. She is more than willing to answer those questions.
Absolutely. You can tell I like to talk about this stuff.
Marina, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast and educating not just me, but the audience on this topic.
My pleasure. And thanks for having me, and thank you for all the great questions as well.
Of course. Hopefully you'll come back on again soon and do some more education.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe it's experimental. That's some hypnosis.
Exactly. Well, everyone, like I always say, preparation, accountability, execution, and resolve are keys to your success. Until next time.